lesson 13.5, and we are still working on measurements, but we are using what is called the U.S. Customary units of measure. So us and a couple other countries, smaller countries, are the only nations that use this measure. Majority of the world does use the metric system, but when the U.S. was started, they were very independent, and in so much that they even had our own measuring system. So instead of seeing meters, milliliters, grams, you'll be seeing ounces, pounds, cups, feet, yards, acres. Those are the measures that are used. So if you'll look on page 451, you'll see the chart of length, capacity, and weight. Okay, so you'll see it broken down into the units that we use. So you will be going from ounces to gallons, feet to inches, or to yards. You'll be changing back and forth in between those units, but you really will not be using the larger to smaller and smaller to larger rule, because that is used in the metric system and it's easy, but that's because the metric system is based on the powers of 10. The U.S. customary units are not. So larger to smaller multiply, smaller to larger divide really is not going to be useful here. So you will be using reasoning. So that means you're going to be looking at that chart, looking at what you have. You're going to have to determine, hey, do I need to multiply? Do I need to divide? Sometimes you have to do both. Just depends on what units you're changing to. So I'm going to be going through the examples, and there are 4 of them, and then you are going to be completing 1 through 5 on page 452, 6 and 7, and 10. So I try to give you something that's going to be along the same lines that you'll see, but there's going to be some there that really you're just going to have to take some time to work about. So the first example is taking 90,000 pounds and converting it to tons. So if you look on your chart, you'll see that there are 2,000 pounds in a ton. So you're going to take your 90,000, because you're going from pounds to a ton. Pounds is smaller than a ton, so in this case here you are dividing. So you'll do 90,000 divided by 2,000 and you'll get 45 tons. Okay, so 90,000 pounds is 45 tons. Example 2, it says suppose you drink 8 ounce glasses of water each day. How many cups is that? Alright, so with this measure you go from ounces to cups, and so we got to multiply and divide here. So first off, 8 ounces of water, so you're going to do 8 times 8 is 64, and then there are 8 ounces in a cup, so if you'll divide by 8 you'll get 8 cups. Example 3, this is using length, the units of measure for length. So you have a car that is 5 feet 1 inch wide, and the garage door is 2 yards. So can it fit in there? So we have 5 feet and 1 inch, and then we have 2 yards. So a yard is equal to 3 feet. And so to find out how many 2 yards would be, we would multiply. So we would do 2 times 3, which is 6. So we get 6 feet, and now we can compare. So the car is 5 feet and 1 inch, and the garage is 6 feet. So yes, the car can fit into the garage. Example 4. This is talking about a football field. It is 1 1/3 acres. So about how many feet is that? So you have 1 1/3. There are 43,560 feet, square feet in an acre. So that takes part of the 1 acre, okay? So you have to find out how many feet is in the third. So you'll just take 43,560 divided by 3, and you are going to get 14,520, and then you have to add it to the whole acre. Right? And you'll get 58,080 feet squared. Okay, so you can tell by the examples there's really not a pattern to follow, just there's going to be different scenarios that's going to require a lot of thinking on your part, and just take your time and really focus on what they're asking you. Look at the question, what are you trying to figure out first, and be sure to keep that chart handy.